Canada need just 1 point from their final match against Chile to move on to the quarterfinals of Copa America. So let's first take a look at how we got there. Canada started this tournament in a wild match against Argentina. It finished 2-0, but that was far from the story. It could have been a 6-2, 6-3 kind of game. There was chances for Canada, there was chances from Argentina. It was far from that 2-0 scoreline, but there was a lot to like from it. It was a very encouraging performance from Canada, and we thought we could continue that into Peru. We were wrong. The first 10 minutes of that match against Peru, we dominated possession. We didn't really do anything with it, and we just looked a little lackluster. And all of a sudden, Peru picked up the possession, they took the game to us, and we were under a lot of pressure. We bent, we did not break, but we looked exhausted. I get that it was 35 degrees, felt like 40. That is exhausting on a player playing at that level. You could tell it was tired minds, which made tired legs, which meant for a sloppy performance. And I truly believe if we didn't get the advantage and went up a man after that red card, we would not have won that match. It just didn't look like it was going our way. That being said, Peru should have had 2 red cards, so I think the footballing gods made it right with the second red card that was actually given. Canada took their opportunity when it came, put the game to bed, held on late, and got a very, I would say, ugly win. That performance does not fill me with confidence going against Chile. Chile had 2 different type of performances against Argentina and Peru. The Peru was a dogfight. I do believe they probably could have won that match, but Peru held on in the end. Chile dominated a long stretch of the possession in it, and unfortunately only walked away with a point for them. Then they went against Argentina, and they were dominated pretty much the entire match. It wasn't until late in the game where Chile got a couple of chances to actually win it. They didn't take them. Argentina came down, scored, and Chile walked away with nothing. So now, going into this match against Canada, Chile needs to win. There's nothing else to say. They need 3 points, which means that I think they're going to have more of the possession, and that makes me very intrigued to see how Jesse Marsch is going to line this team up and how the tactics will go, because I don't think Canada can go into this match and defend for 90 minutes knowing that a draw is good enough. I think they will walk into trouble if that happens. I think that there won't be a lot of changes in the starting 11. I think Jesse Marsch has proven that. And if we just sit back and defend, I think Chile will eventually break us down. I want to see us go at them. I want to see us match the intensity of Chile. I want to see us try to carry the play. I want to see possession at least be even and not just sit back and defend, because I do think that would be too much pressure on us and we will break. The nice thing about this, though, is that we are in a good position to take the game to Chile, because they're not in a great position right now. They haven't been playing overly well, and I really think if Canada can take the game to Chile, it could be an open game and we could even go and win it. But I believe that we should play for the win and not the draw, and if we do play for the draw, we could be in trouble. I'm also worried to see how the heat will impact this team. I don't think we did a good job handling it against Peru. I heard after the match that the players were exhausted. They had to, obviously drink a lot of fluids, get in the ice bath. They were not feeling good. Chile, I believe, will handle the heat a little bit better. We saw Peru, who I thought handled the heat better. Chile just came off a game at 9 p.m. Eastern time in New Jersey, so they weren't really going through that. So that'll definitely be a factor to keep an eye on. And it's also worth noting for Canada, at least, we have 3 yellow cards where Chile have 5. That could play some type of impact on the match. The 3 players on yellows is Derek Cornelius, Ismael Kone, and of course Richie Laryea, which means if one of those 3 players pick up a yellow card, they will be suspended for the quarterfinals. So with that being said, I mentioned rotation. I believe Jesse Marsch should have done a little bit more rotation through these first 2 matches, but I don't really think he's going to do that for this final one. So let's take a look at my predicted starting 11. I do believe Canada will once again go with that 4-2-2. The keeper will be Crépeau. He's been man of the match for me in both of these games. He's such a key player. It's not a surprise. He's the keeper. The back 4, I think it will pretty much look the exact same as the match against Argentina. I want to see Davies go back into a left back position. I don't think Davies and Laryea really worked on that left-hand side. I thought Liam Miller and Davies had moments of brilliance against Argentina, and I thought they should have had another chance against an opposition like Peru. Instead, they moved Miller over to the right, and they had Laryea and Davies, and it just didn't work. So I want to see Richie go back to the bench. He could be an option coming off, and then we get to see Davies go back to left back, Johnston at right back, Bombito, Cornelius, your 2 center backs. I thought Kamal Miller came into the match, he did okay, a little off the pace for my liking, but our 2 center back duo, it has to 100% be Cornelius and Bombito. I know there's a risk of Cornelius picking up a yellow and being suspended for the quarterfinals, but we need to get there. He needs to play. Moving on to the midfield, I believe Tajon Buchanan will start this game. The big debate is Jacob Schaffelberg deserves to start, and honestly, it is a split decision. I've talked with a lot of you guys on YouTube as well as on X, and I've seen about 50% of you say he needs to start because look at what he's done in these first 2 matches. I thought he was absolutely incredible against Peru. He was a big part of the reason we won the game. He was creating chances pretty much every time he had the ball. But will he be impactful like that if he starts? And that's the other argument. If he starts, he doesn't come on against tired legs and can just be a menace the way he has been. So I do see both points. The reason I would lean to start him is because I just want to see him for 60, 70 minutes. I think he's good enough to go against fit legs. Doesn't matter to me. I trust him doing that, and I just want to see a little bit more rotation. And Schaffelberg's a player that can come in for a like for like. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to basically go over what I think Jesse Marsch is going to do, and I think it's going to be the same starting 11 pretty much as Argentina. So I'm going with Tajon Buchanan at right mid. Ismael Kone will be the center mid along with Eustachio. Same thing can be said about Kone. He has not had a strong tournament so far, but I still trust him more than anyone else in that position, especially in this system with the 2 midfielders. It has to be Kone. I know he's on a yellow, but I'm trusting he's going to come good and come up with a big match against Chile. So I'm going to have him alongside Eustachio, and I'm going to go with Liam Miller again. Like I said, I want to see him have an opportunity to play with Davies again down that left-hand side. I think they can create problems for the Chile back line. On top of that, Liam Miller only played 45 minutes against Peru, so he should have a little bit in the tank, and it will allow Schaffelberg to come off the bench. And then up front, David Larin, no surprise. It's going to be the exact same starting 11 against Argentina, and that's what I'm expecting, and I'd be surprised if we see anything else. To preview Chile, I brought on Thomas Nef, who is a familiar face to Canadian soccer fans. Thomas is Canadian, but he's also Chilean, so I'm very interested to get his thoughts on this match, so let's dive into my conversation with Thomas. All right, Thomas, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while. How you doing, man?
Josh, it's been quite a long time, probably maybe more than a year. I'm doing great, working a different landscape, but still involved in soccer. I know the channel has been growing a lot, so it's nice to reconnect.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you on, and I'm using you today to take a look at Chile. And I want to ask you a few questions, so I'm going to dive right in. They've played 2 matches so far in Copa America. They had a very cagey match against Peru where they drew 0-0, and then, of course, another pretty cagey match. There was some good moments from Chile in that match where I thought they could win it late. They ended up losing the match 1-0 to Argentina. They need a win against Canada in this final match. So I just want to hear your thoughts on those first 2 games for Chile and what you thought of the tournament so far.
Yeah, I mean, for Chile, basically the match against Peru, the Clásico of the Pacific, that's our biggest rival, Peru. That should have been a match that Chile should have won. It should have been a must-win match, I should have said. Ricardo Gareca facing his former team. That was the biggest storyline there, knowing that Gareca has worked with a lot of these players and knows them very closely. A lot of people thought that Chile would have the upper advantage because of the familiarity aspect. With Chile now having just 1 point after 2 matches, Canada having 3 points after 2 matches, and that match against Argentina having been, just the way it ended, with an 88th goal by Lautaro Martinez, and then the final part of the match, the controversial reffing that happened, the spirits in the Chilean national team are, as you can see, not as high. A lot of expectation, was because of the new head coaching change earlier this year in January. A very high-profile name, and in general, I mean, I thought Chile, very, very, very subpar first half, improved in the second half, had a couple chances with an Argentina side that, on paper, obviously a lot better than a lot of teams in the Copa America tournament. Some people expected the worst, to lose 3-0, and that's not what happened. So if you look at it on there, it's specifically just the result itself without even looking at the match, then you take the 1-0 loss and you take something from it. But if you look at it, the match itself in New Jersey in MetLife Stadium, then you knew that Chile could have come up with a point.
There's everything to play for in this next match, and like I said, I'm curious to see how you think Chile will approach this game, knowing that they have to win. They have to take the game to Canada. Canada had a very entertaining match against Argentina. it was 2-0. It could have been like a 5-2 scoreline. They obviously then went and won against Peru in a very ugly affair. They did not play good throughout. I don't think they might have picked up the 3 points without the red card, and I think the heat really impacted them. So I want to know, how do you think Chile will handle the match? You think they're going to dominate possession? You think they're going to take it to Canada? And on top of that, how do you think they're going to handle the heat? Because they're going to be in Orlando. We saw the Canadians had heavy legs, heavy minds. They made mistakes that they really shouldn't have. And like I said, if it wasn't for a red card that really changed the way that the match was going, they could have been in trouble. So how do you expect Chile to approach this game?
First of all, I must say that for the first time in probably my entire life, my heart will be divided by two countries. I was born in Chile and then raised in Canada, so my adopted country against my birth nation. I'm excited. This is a tournament that Canada should have played in before. Obviously, missed out in 2016 in the Centenario, and even as an invitational nation, just wasn't able to make it. With agreements happening between CONMEBOL and CONCACAF. So the fact that this tournament is happening is amazing. It's in itself. Yes, the heat was a problem in Kansas, as we saw with the official hitting the ground, collapsing in the middle of the game, and obviously that's slowing down the tempo. Look, I would say that it's two different teams. I mean, the style of both different teams. I would say that Chile don't really know their best 11. I would confidently say that. I think that there's still a lot of players in the Chilean national team that are being tried out in this Copa America, which is crazy because, at a tournament of this size, you should already know who your best 11 is. And that isn't the case. I mean, you see a lot of rotation happening in the back. You see, something happening in the middle. Someone like Victor Davila, for example, was playing in Mexico in the Mexican League, and now he's in Europe. He's gotten a chance. But it could have been someone like Ben Burton, another example in the midfield, Echeverria playing in the Argentinian league. I mean, you could say maybe that got them an opportunity against Argentina, or Marcelino Nunez, who plays in England. So, or Igor Nilgovsky, instead of Guillermo Maripan, who plays for Monaco. So, what I'm saying is that I think the fact that Chile is always changing. Even against the friendly against Paraguay, the tune-up game against Copa America, and even in the qualifiers of CONMEBOL, as opposed to Canada, I think it's much more stable. Yes, Canada have made some changes in the past, especially getting rid of kind of some older legs. With Tibaches retiring, Milan Borja no longer being called, Junior Hoylett being injured, and so forth. I think that, but the biggest difference is that these players for the last number of years have played together, as opposed to Chile. It's been sort of this player being called and then being substituted the next window, or being played for 3 windows in a row, and then with bad performances or not enough club minutes, then being I would say that Canada definitely have the upper hand. I can tell you, I think that Canada can play for a draw. We were talking about it off air. They can play for a draw. I think they'll go for the win, especially in Orlando, a stadium they actually know quite well. I mean, I think every time that Canada went to play in the Caribbean, they actually rented out the Orlando training space, to get used to the heat. So I think that Canada definitely have the advantage here, and I think they're favorites to go through.
All right, Thomas, my final question for you is, I want to know what the media and even the fans think about this match. Do they believe that Chile are the favorites? Do they believe that they need to go through? How much pressure is on this country to get a result, knowing how well they've done in this competition before? I always like to see how Canada is perceived in different nations. So how is Canada perceived in this match? And if Chile are to get a result, what do you think they have to do, and how do they need to take this game to Canada to get it?
Well, I can definitely tell you that a couple of years ago, only Alphonso Davies was known in the Chilean media. Now that's changed. Maybe they know they can name 3, 4, 5 players from the Canadian national team. Even in the World Cup, there was still some chat, because obviously CONCACAF. To be honest with you, CONCACAF is not viewed well in South America. It's definitely much harder to qualify to the World Cup from CONMEBOL rather than CONCACAF. But if you look at it from the individual quality, name by name, then of course Canada is superior than Chile in that sense, in that regard, and they've definitely showed it. So I think that maybe a couple of years ago they weren't seen as a footballing nation. Obviously, historically they aren't, but I think that the hope, obviously, in the Chilean media is always there, even though only about 5 players are left from that 2016 team that beat Argentina in the final. There's still some of that excitement left that maybe something could happen, but let's be honest. I mean, two different teams, 2 different realities right now. So I definitely think that Chile respects Canada. The Chilean media, has been doing some profile stories on the Canadian team for fans to get used to, and really get to know this team inside out. But of course, being from CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, and South American teams don't see much of the CONCACAF qualifiers, if that makes sense. Like they're not exposed to it as much. Only in these kind of situations, only in these kind of competitions, you see each other for the first time in what may have been decades. So even after the World Cup, with only seeing those 3 games in the group stage, it wasn't enough, because obviously Chile wasn't in the World Cup. So a lot of Chilean fans were not paying attention to the World Cup, maybe watching just the top teams and then the later matches. So I think that definitely Chile, knows that they are the underdogs, but they will play this match with a different mentality, thinking the otherwise.
A big thank you to Thomas for the time. I really appreciate it. And I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. Do you think Canada gets the point they need to move on to the quarterfinals? And leave me your score prediction. If you guys are new around here, I really hope you enjoyed this preview. As always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub. And before we get out of here, let's get a final word in from our sponsor, BetStamp. Exciting news for the channel. I'm thrilled to announce that JJD TV is partnering up with BetStamp and Sign-Up Expert. This opens up an incredible opportunity for you to join up with some of my favorite sports books to get the best odds and user offers throughout Copa America. Head over to my dedicated page at signupexpert.com/JJDTV to explore a selection of sports books tailored to your region, each with unique offerings. If you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level throughout this tournament and want to show some love for the channel, I highly recommend you signing up for your next sportsbook through my Sign Up Expert link. You can easily find it in the description of this video.